Okay, very good morning, everyone. 8:30 here in Milan, Tuesday, 12th. What is it? April? No, May 2026. Good morning, good morning. Word on the day, or word on the street, we should say, US dollar CAD straight away. It's pretty much where we wanted it to be yesterday, based on that DXY, also at that area. Boris definitely made a great point. And as I was saying yesterday, US dollar CAD, excuse me, the DXY it really does react to those 4 hour order blocks. So although it's looking nice at the moment, particularly we've got 4 hour 50 EMA, 27 minutes on the DXY to potentially reject it. It is looking pretty good. However, it hasn't quite tapped that 4 hour order block. And then if you do look through the charts, you will see those 4 hour order blocks, they are tapped and they do provide that liquidity. So I am reluctant to take it for that reason personally myself, US dollar CAD, despite it looking pretty much textbook in terms of what I'd like to see coming out of the market. The only other caveat to that is the fact that it's not quite my trading time. So straight away I would be breaking my trading plan. It's one of those where there's a couple of good things going too. You can see I've already been manipulating how I would like to take it. But with that said, we can see, for example, we haven't quite broken. It's a difficult one. In terms of taking it aggressively, you certainly could. How am I going to look to take it? Well, first and foremost, I won't be taking it right now. I would at least want to see how this 15-minute candle closes. And then I will consider it. So I'll bring my alerts all the way up. We'll have a look. Let's get rid of that for a moment. Let me have a look at the 1 minute time frame to see what's going on. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly looking nice for a textbook play. We've come into the 15-minute order block, we've broken structure to the low, come back up into the area. But what I don't like about it now is the fact that we have broken the highs on the 1 minute time frame. So if there was rather a 1 minute order block, then price would have gone straight through it, as you can see here. So although we're getting a reaction, what I'm seeing on the 1 minute time frame is simply price making that high. After a high, of course, we're expecting a higher low before potentially a higher high continuation. So I just want to see how that 15-minute candle closes. If I can get a nice close, and let me delete those alerts going bananas. I'll just put the alert slightly higher and we'll see what goes on. But for now, no position for me. I'll just double check the DXY has price tapped into the area just yet. No, it hasn't. So we'll keep the alert there for the DXY. We'll bring the DXY slightly higher and we'll see what goes on. Because yesterday, for example, we were waiting for exactly the same thing for price to probably tap up into that area. So we've got slightly higher. Price didn't tap in and we had the rollover. What time did we start moving to the downside? 7:15. Yeah, so pretty much now. I'm gonna wait for the 15. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, if we break the structure point and then pulls back, then I'll probably consider it and I'll take that on the call, no problem at all. Cool. So that's what we've got at the moment for US dollar CAD. So bringing that in to the DXY, that's pretty much the pullback what we're expecting. Of course, higher time frame, longer term, we are obviously looking for price to push out that weekly order block. That's a given. But where we are now, based on the 4 hour time frame, it does, of course, make sense for price to want to short down. So let's just have a little look to see how that closes and then we'll act accordingly. Particularly if, and this is why I don't believe that the trade would be missed, even if price pushes away from it. And I had the same thought process yesterday, but the fact we're now in that 4 hour 50 EMA, we're rejecting to the downside, probably looking to close below it. What we'll look to see is, of course, once this 4 hour candle closes, hopefully we'll just get the pull this we'll get the price on the lower time frames breaking structure, pull back into the highs of that 4 hour candle, and then off we go. And then what that would be on US dollar CAD is just a little bit more of confluence because we've done enough. I certainly would admit we've done enough, but if we could break this structure point and come back, then even better, you know. And then with that said, in the trading journal, you can actually say, well, I did wait for X, Y, and Z. It wasn't just price was there, and then I traded before my current trading time, etc., etc. So to build more confluence, then go against the trading plan, in my opinion, helps the situation, particularly if it ends in a loss. The first thing that you would have to go into, well, the first thing that I'd be running my trading plan as well. It wasn't my trading time, so I shouldn't have been taking a position anyway. So I need to be quite sure before trading that, particularly on certain accounts, because I could get myself in a lot of trouble. So that's the DXY really, just monitoring that closely for the rejection, and then of course on the upside, then we're looking at the reversal type of positions on all the cross pairs, potentially US dollar CAD towards the upside. But again, out of that daily order block to the top, bottom right hand chart, I won't be looking to take longs unless we do get down to that area. Again, just really influencing myself to want to look for those US dollar CAD shorts, because if I'm looking for a US dollar CAD long, then of course price has to get down there at some point. And if price wants to get down there at some point, now does look like a nice area. However, previous weekly highs, session high, I do love a session high position. And in terms of the most recent break of structure as well, is it coming from there, or overall, are we looking at the bigger picture coming from this area of that move? Price comes back up for the short. Definitely one to consider, and it's definitely one that I am actively monitoring. So don't get me wrong, I am watching it. UJ, another half decent position, potentially playing in to the markets. Had the push already this morning, which is a bit of a disappointment. But look what we've pushed straight back into, rejected beautifully that 4 hour 50 EMA. So again, with UJ, daily order block to the bottom right hand chart, and then we've broken out of that range. And to be honest, we've just got a nice trading range towards that daily time frame on the bottom. That daily order block price is rejecting it to the upside nicely. So that's just providing us with a really nice trading range. And to be honest, the shorts for me on UJ look a lot better because we've got support via that 4 hour. In fact, no, we do not. No longer have the support by the 4 hour 50 EMA, but we do have the support of the daily 50 EMA. So if this, again, I don't believe that the positions would be missed, and even if they are, then it's very simple. It just wasn't the trading time. If this 4 hour candle closes bearish, that would be beautiful for them price to on the 4 hour time frame, what I mean, because currently our trading range on UJ down to the 4 hour 50 MA is not that big. In terms of if price comes back up to this area, currently having to manage it by the 4 hour 50 MA, there's not a lot of range there at all. So ideal scenario, we'd want to see price break below that 4 hour 50 MA, close below it, and then just like on US dollar CAD, pull back and then look for the short term based on the DXY weakness. But that short term play on the DXY is going to be enough, in my opinion, for us to make good profits out of the market, as you guys saw yesterday. Where were we yesterday? Just a slight move on the DXY is enough, based on the power of it across the cross pairs. So staying patient for now. We'll see what we got. But UJ definitely lining up for a potential short. I do like the short. And of course, the 4 hour time frame, 4 hour order block price pushed in, rejected it. Not with a tremendous wick to the upside. So currently we are definitely still bullish on that 4 hour time frame. I'd love to see this type of wick that we have now on the current 4 hour candle. I'd love to see that coming out of the 4 hour order block personally. But currently we can still see we're quite bullish, and then that's illustrated nicely on that 15-minute time frame as well. So although things are looking great, particularly, what am I saying? Yeah, although things are looking great, potentially a little bit early, in terms of the higher probable type of setup. Agreed, yesterday I took an aggressive trade on EU, an aggressive trade on AU. And you can see where positions can be taken. However, for me, it's the fact that it's just a little bit before trading time. But come 9 o'clock, I'm definitely going to be in the markets, looking to take those shorts on US dollar CAD, hopefully, and then on UJ as well. Let's double check that since we're monitoring it. Good, stay up there. And then on US dollar CAD, just to go back, what I would be inclined to wait for on US dollar CAD is just going to be a 1 minute break of structure. And the reason for that is we've got Asia available as a nice confluence. If we look at the 50-minute order block that price has now come into, We've had a low created from that 15-minute order block. Prices come back into that. Of course, it wouldn't be the standard Asia range, but we're looking for that Asia range to be filled based on the confluence there. And then the fact that we're in the higher time frame area as well, it would just look really, really nice to wait for that 1 minute breaker structure, use Asia range as a confluence and look to drive it price right back down to that 4 hour 50 EMA. So I think it's looking good across all DXY pairs at the moment. And then UJ, what would I be looking to do on UJ? Well, the price has given us a new 15-minute order block, but when price is doing that, I'm reluctant to use that 15-minute order block. And the reason for that is because that 15-minute order block hasn't actually done anything. So therefore, the 15-minute order block that I'm using up at these highs, look at the difference. So this 15-minute order block has caused price to drop. This 15-minute order block, as a result of this bearish 15-minute candle, we could credit potentially just down to a bit of news that come out of the market. But essentially, and I don't mind using 15-minute candles that create order blocks based on the fact that there was news, but it hasn't done anything on the 15-minute time frame. Of course, on the 1 minute time frame, we've had a break of structure of some sort. That goes without saying. But if you're going to ask me, well, Charles, what 15-minute order block would you prefer to use? Then, of course, it's the 15-minute order block that created that tremendous snap in the market. So I'll be waiting nicely to see if price would want to come up to this area. Another reason why US dollar CAD shorts might not be ready, because UJ, if we were looking to short UJ in line with that, I understand we're basing that confluence or that bias on the fact that either the yen or the CAD is either stronger or weaker, but still based on the technicals, it's suggesting that UJ could pop up a little bit higher, or rather the DXY could pop up a little bit higher to even this 15-minute order block, even if it's not the one slightly higher, which could then mean, well, US dollar CAD is not quite ready. And then anywhere in this area of that session high, I'll be looking for a turnaround based upon 15-minute bearish engulfing candle, and I'll take the imbalance short. Um, Unless price respects this 15-minute order block, then of course I'll wait for that 1 minute break of structure to take that short down. So that's UJ, US dollar CAD as well. We've spoken about to the death, but it's looking pretty good. And I like the fact that although we're tied, although, well, exactly that. We're not being tied to the bias and the fact that we understand the XY strength is coming out of the market, but we're going to use the weakness in the immediacy, which could be short term, to take some money out the market as well. So that's what we got at the moment. UJ, UCAD, GU. It's looking all right, but not perfect. Higher time frame, of course, we already know. Weekly order block, looking to reject that to the downside. Refined area, we've got the daily order block in there as well that price is respecting, looking to drive price out of that area. However, if you were just to look at the most recent daily candles, what's really going on? And the question, well, really the rhetorical answer is not a tremendous amount. Therefore, if you can identify that price is doing that on the daily, then on the 4 hour, you could always almost already understand that not too much is going on as well. And in terms of the trend, there isn't one currently. So hopefully this current 4 hour candle closes bearish. That will give us a little bit of an insight to understand that, of course. Now we're looking to trend bearish potentially for the long term in line with DXY strength coming out of the market, and then we'll just have to have a look to understand what's going to happen. So, of course, once this 4 hour candle closes, or even if it doesn't, be looking for price to come back to the highs anyway. And as I said, the better that 4 hour candle starts to push, the more structure points we can hopefully start to break. Now, although I've got this area on the charts where it looks as if I'd be looking to take a long position, I very much doubt I will, because overwhelmingly I am going to anticipate price is going to be bearish. So I'm hoping that price just breaks these areas completely and pulls back up. What we also have in terms of looking for that long, just to be devil's advocate and trade on the other side, daily order block prices, of course, rejecting it to the upside. So that's hence the range, to be fair. So if price wants to push down into that daily 50 EMA down to this area, okay, fair enough. The longs actually look quite appealing. Sorry, I lose my thought when I start going against my overall bias. So if GU is down here, that would mean the DXY then. So GU going short means DXY strength. So what's going on the DXY then? So if GU is going to continue falling, DXY is more than likely going to start pushing past these areas, in my opinion. And then what we'd get is that on the DXY. So potential for a long position on GU based on weakness coming out of the DXY. Once then it's broken these areas after that higher high, potentially we'll then get that higher low for the higher high continuation. Or even better, if the DXY comes into this area, we get confirmation of a turnaround from the DXY, then potentially, yeah, that dollar weakness could come out of the market again. It's only going to be short term, in my opinion, for us to get that long position to manage that quite aggressively again. But it's just based on the higher time frame analysis. As long as you manage the position and you have your take profit set, then it doesn't really matter what goes on, so long as you're protected. So GU, what's it looking? I'd take it both directions, I'll be honest. Up at those highs, I haven't noticed a 50-minute order block just yet, so I'm gonna have to see if there is one now. Okay, there is one there, and there's a better one up at the high. So I'll put it in since it is going to be refined within that 4 hour order block. And here it is just here, right up at the highs. So let's put that on across the market. Just going to make that slightly bigger so I can see it better and then understand clearer what's going on. Okay, so I'll pop an alert slightly higher up. I'll have an alert. I'll bring this one down so there's nothing for me to do. So yeah, I'll be waiting for price to hopefully break structures, come back in. I'll look for that bearish engulfing lower time frame break of structure and look for the short. If I don't get that, then my anticipation will be price is going to want to be driven slightly back higher into the highs of that daily range. We all start to understand how liquidity is starting to work. Wick imbalance, you can see here, double top type of area, price smash straight through it. We're getting the same type of thing going on here as well. So ideally, or not so much ideally, you can just foresee that price may want to be driven through these areas into a better selling scenario to then take that short position down. But again, I'm with you guys all day. So whatever I see that has changed, then I'll be looking to let you guys know. But at the moment, GU, it wasn't really a favorite. It's in amber for that reason because I can't really understand the directional price action. And then really the biggest question is when price gets down to this area, am I going to be interested in taking the long? And to be honest, it's just going to have to fully depend on what the DXY looks like when price gets here. If the DX, as I've already mentioned, I'd hate to go over it again for you guys, but depending on where that DXY is will depend on whether I look for a long position or not. So that's GU. Certainly wasn't a favorite in the initial scan this morning. EU, EU. What do we have on EU? Yeah, pretty much price again hasn't done a lot. Took a short position on EU yesterday, very aggressive in the stance alongside AU. But unfortunately, price just hasn't done a lot since. Of course, weekly order block looking for price to come out of it to the downside. Refined daily, candles haven't closed above, just rejecting it again to the downside. As price starts to hover in and around those areas, of course, that 4 hour 50 MA is coming up gently where price is respecting on that 4 hour time frame. So, like on GU, ideal scenarios would always look to talk about them would just be a break of the 4 hour 50 MA. So we're no longer using it as a target, we're actually using it to trade alongside it. But then when with that said, if we start to break these areas and pull back up, we'll still be going to more than likely be the same type of scenario that we're then trading down into it. But the only difference is we now have the first confluence then that we've actually broken it. So the important one of the day is would I take a long on EU from that area? So the four, no, I do I have the range first and foremost to that higher time frame weekly order block? Let's have a look. Really is going to have to depend. If I can get between a 10 to a 15 pip stop loss on a long position from this key structure area, then yeah, I'll probably have a look at it. But again, like with the DXY, it just depends where the DXY is for me to consider whether or not I'm now going to start forecasting DXY weakness coming out of the charts. It's just one that it's difficult to foresee at the moment. Where price is going to look, what price is going to look like on the DXY. So EU currently moving bearish. So that's suggesting DXY strength. However, the DXY, is it breaking areas? Is it pushing into the area just yet? Not really. It's not doing a lot. So actually, perhaps the DXY could just push up to those highs of that 4 hour order block for GU to then get into this area. That could then be when we'll see that DXY weakness coming out of the market, and much like EU from this area as well. So let's see if we've got a 15-minute order block in and around that area. The only other thing I see, which I could understand if you guys are also seeing it, is this area here, which of course marries up beautifully with the DXY currently. But that's not something I'm willing to take in terms of a long position based for a couple of reasons. Higher time frame order block, I am expecting the weakness to come out. And then based on structure, I know it's all squished together, that 15-minute chart, but sometimes that's the best way to understand structure when it's like that. And it's for me, can I identify clear higher highs and higher lows in the market if I'm going to be looking to take a long position based on 15-minute structure only? If Price had done that, then it would be one to consider potentially with that Asia range coming into the market as well for a nice Asia range confluence looking long, or even an Asia range position in its entirety. However, what we can see is that we don't really have that. We have a high created from in and around these areas at some points. We've had that high, expecting the higher low for a higher high continuation. We didn't get a higher high. We in fact got price coming into the area that made the push initially. We've come straight back up to the highs of that area. Now we're in the middle of that area. So really, I would be expecting price to even want to continue lower for us to take a potential longer position on GU for that GU buy, or price to just want to push back up into that previous weekly highs of that area, and then price just remain within that 15-minute range that we're seeing at the moment. So EU again, nothing too much now in terms of the immediacy. Just a moment. But the longs again, I am interested, but I just need to see what's going to happen on the DXY first and foremost. So let's put that 15-minute order block in to see if that refined area is looking any good. Nice, right in the equilibrium of the 4 hour order block. So that's a good place to start. And then let's pop that across all of the time and have a look now on the 15 to see what that looks like. Okay, so it's a higher time from directional play, so I'm not too fussed how price, well, of course I am bothered how price looks on the 15-minute time frame, but really it's a higher time frame analysis that's guiding that. And then what we can see and say on the 15. Again, no real trend at all on that 15-minute time frame. So what we'll be looking to do is just fill that range right back up to the top. So when price comes back down to these areas, confirmation for me, that could be via, again, it's DXY dependent. First and foremost, let's measure the range in terms of stop loss placement to see where I want to put my stop loss and where it's possible for me to actually put my stop loss. Longs, there we go. Okay, so something around about there. I can see that age is available here, 15-minute order block here. Okay, so my stop loss in an ideal scenario, I'd like to be there. 21 pips, that's way too big. My target's based on the EMA currently on side. So the 4 hour 50 EMA would be supporting my position back up to those highs potentially, back up even to those previous weekly highs. But again, are we really going to be expecting that amount of DXY weakness to be coming out the market? I'm not too sure, to be honest. A better play. So first and foremost, I recognize my stop loss can't be that big, so I'm just going to have to trust this area as that key support area in the market. And then because we do have those areas below, as well as Asia to be filled, as well as many, many Asias to be filled to the lows, I'm going to have to wait for some decent amount of confirmation. So a couple of areas or a couple of ways. Price looking to trend down beautifully. We then have price push into the market, creating a lower low. As a result of this most recent lower high, I want price to break, pull back, and then off we go. That's how I'm going to trust that area. So that's definitely one way. And then, of course, if you don't get that clear break of structure on the 15-minute time frame, and this more often than not will happen when price just kind of when price approaches the point of interest in a uniform manner, and as price just kind of hovers around in that area, that's when even just a bullish 15-minute candle, excuse me, yeah, exactly, bullish engulfing 15-minute candle can actually break all of those structure points. And then once that happens, you've got two types of scenarios. You can then look to take the position from the imbalance of the candle itself, or you can refine that area down based on those lower time frames in terms of your 5-minute order blocks and your 1-minute order block. Wait for price to pull down slightly deeper just to give you that bigger or better range, and ideally you've got a better stop loss as well. So if you're going to take it from the candle, it would just be the order block. If you're going to take it from the 5-minute order block, then of course you can see you've got a lot better stop loss placement. So a couple of ways that you could be looking to take that after the confirmation. Again, I won't make a decision just yet because I'm not really sure if I will even entertain that long, despite it looking average for the moment. So that CU, even taking that long based on the 4 hour time frame, you can't again, you can't really say that this 4 hour order block has done a tremendous amount in the market. In terms of structural breaks. For example, as price was on its way down, creating lower lows from this area, we've had a nice break of structure. So if there was a 4 hour order block in and around this area, then of course you'd wait for price to come back down and you'd be able to trust that order block because it's done something on that 4 hour time frame. It has broken structure to the left. Again, here, the reason why I'm using this 4 hour order block and I like that 4 hour order block is because if you again do the same thing, price has pushed up from this area. You look to the left, have we broken a structure point? Well, one line will do it, as I always say. Here was a candle body and then we've had a candle body closure above. Therefore, we have broken structure from this area. Therefore, I'm going to use the lowest order block in that leg, and there isn't any others available but for this one just here. So therefore, here would be my strongest point of interest for a long position. And then, of course, once you start to tie that into the higher time frame analysis, we're within that daily order block supported by the daily 50 MA long. However, now, this 4 hour order block, it's not the end of the world. You can say one line will do it. We've broken structure again. We've had a back candle body closure above. So again, really, it's not too bad. So again, being devil's advocate, I'm trying to disprove the trade, but also trying to find reasons to take that position. So it looks okay. I must admit, it does look all right. It's just that weekly order block for me. Yeah, I'm not really comfortable taking longs into it, but it's one of those. If the entry criteria presents itself, it then becomes one of those questions. Well, you've waited for the setup, you waited for the entry criteria, just take the position, manage it, and see what happens. So yeah, I'm not against taking longs at all on EU or GU. We'll just have to see which one looks better at the time. Probably, in my opinion, I think EU would be more of a favorite, being honest. Yeah, I think so. We'll discuss it live when it happens. US dollar CAD, let's have a quick look back to see what's gone on US dollar CAD, getting loads of alerts popping up. Okay, so US dollar CAD, the fact we've closed above that 15-minute order block, I now get rid of it. I'm not going to be using that as confluence for the position. So now it's nice for me to go to show you guys live. So now, because I had a 15-minute order block and price is closed above it, I now must wait for something else. So now I must wait for either a 15-minute bearish engulfing candle to then give me a 15-minute order block to start trading from again. That's my only option now at this stage to take a US dollar CAD short. If I don't get the bearish engulfing candle, then what I must then wait for at least is price actually to break structure on the lower time frame, leave me an order block behind on a 5-minute or on a 1-minute time frame for me to then to take that position. But until that happens, I can't take a position on US dollar CAD. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So that's GU, EU, AU now. Okay, AU. Finally took a short on AU yesterday. Finally. And Boris will know we've been looking at AU in terms of that weekly order block, looking to short that for feels like weeks now. So I closed that out this morning for a couple of percent. But again, I think price could well look for a pullback for continuation shorts. Remember, it's only Tuesday. We've got so many trading days left, and in your trading career, we have so many trading years left. So if you don't manage to catch a trade, then it's one of those where you just live to trade another day. The good news is, I think we're still on for AU continued shorts. Higher time frame weekly order block rejected last week, looking to reject this week. And this morning, I did a little bit of a breakdown on how I took that short position. And pretty much it was the ideal scenario where that higher time frame weekly order block, trading from those weekly order blocks is always difficult because the weekly order block is so large. But when price does us a favor by trending or pushing so high into that weekly order block, for me, it's really, well, I definitely can't take a long because I'm in that order block. The only position I can take is a short position. So I'm looking for the even the smallest amount of confirmation before looking to take that short position, because as we explained yesterday, if we are wrong taking a short from in and around these areas, we're simply just wrong. I mean, you can't cover everything and your stop loss can't be 50 pips, but it was one of those positions where it just made sense to take, particularly after the confirmation. Anyhow, here and now, no confluence on that daily time frame whatsoever. There's no order blocks. We could look to use previous daily highs, but again, we'll just be in and around these areas anyway. That has been refined from that 4 hour order block. So new 4 hour order block as a result of this 4 hour bearish candle. It's looking good. Allow price to do something. I mean, AU for me, it's really the only cross pair that I'm getting a little bit more of a structural vibe from. But again, you could argue that both ways, and so there isn't any real clear lower lows and lower highs. But what we do have here is price was, of course, pushing up on the 15. Price then came out of that area back into that 15-minute order block. Then we've had that move across. So we've had that break of structure that you can identify. And then, of course, when price came back up into this area yesterday to the left, there was a 15-minute order block just here, like so. Looking across, of course, as soon as you get that confirmation in and around that area, I was certainly in for the short. So that's how the short was taken. However, here and now, as prices push so far away, is there any opportunity for a long? Certainly not for me. I can't, because we are in the weekly order block looking to go short out of it. However, if you guys are able to, well, it depends. I mean, I won't offer the long up for anyone since it's sort of my method of trading. But if you see a long, fair play. But the only thing that I would uh, tell you to be mindful of is the weekly order block is very powerful, particularly the fact that we're coming out of the highs of it. So a pullback is definitely inevitable because I'm expecting price to want to pull back to these areas to take a short. However, it's the long that I can't be in at the moment. So this is very simple for me to break down. I have to just wait for price to want to start pulling up to these areas. If it doesn't, then I'll just have to start relying on the 15-minute structure only based on Asia range, but that would be tomorrow. So the only play I have on AU, unfortunately, is for price to pull back up into that area. And then for that to happen, we need DXY weakness to come out of the market. And we are anticipating potentially some DXY weak, there we go, Perfect. Higher time frame order block. Exactly what we're waiting for. Now the DXY weakness could potentially be on into the market. So let's have a look to see how price is going to react in and around that area. The DXY weakness is incredibly weak, which of course we're going to expect, particularly the fact that we've now closed above. Perfect, 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 perfect. We've now closed above that 4-hour 50 EMA. So of course now, just as we've said, once we've had that closure above, we've made the higher high above the 4-hour 50 EMA. Hopefully we even close above that 4-hour order block, which will flip everything on its head. DXY would then be confirmed fully bullish. After a high, we'd be expecting a higher low. That higher low would then pull price back for all of us, well, yeah, for all of us on all of the pairs that are currently melting, and then that will bring us nicely into this type of short position. So yeah, I think it's looking like a really good week, particularly, and the reason for that is because we're able to forecast that DXY pretty much to perfection based on those higher timeframes and understand what's going on. Therefore, we are going to be on the correct side of the market. So just sit tight, everyone, be patient, wait for the setup to come to you, entry criteria, execute with no reservations whatsoever. So yeah, that's AU in a nutshell. As I said, I won't go over a potential long because I'm not going to be taking a long, but I do expect price to reject that 4-hour 50 May. And as I said, I do fully expect price to want to start pulling back into those order blocks for a good short, particularly because it's only Tuesday, right? We've got lots of trading days left. So that's AU. GCAD. Sorry, Boris, do you have any questions? I recognize I'm probably going through this a little bit
No, no,
quick.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, well done, well
Good
done,
pace.
well done for not jumping into the UCAD anyway, because that would have ended. We'd both be pretty pissed off right now. So
Sure.
yeah, so I'll still see how price reacts in and around these areas up at these highs, and we'll see what goes on because the DXY is pushing. I am expecting it to start pulling back at some stage. So once I do get a sign of the DXY turnaround, then I think US dollar CAD could be quite nice for a quick short, or even it could be quite well, longer term, short-lived short, if that makes sense. Just trading that pullback on the DXY. So that's AU for us. Spoken about AU. GCAD. Right, GCAD, pretty much the only pair that I think I like, and that's just based on well, a multitude of factors to be honest. GCAD, bless you. GCAD, bless you. My trading partner has joined the room. GCAD, higher time frame, weekly order block, only created as a result of that bullish candle on the weekly time frame. So GCAD for me, I only can take longs. So if I'm going to be wanting to take a long, where are those long positions going to come from? So once we refine that weekly order block down, refine within the weekly, we've got a nice daily order block there where price is going to be supported by the daily 50 MA as well as the weekly 50 MA, taking price back up towards the upside. So pretty much supported by all EMAs at this time on GCAD. Now on the 4-hour time frame, what I like is the fact that price was ranging, then price chose its direction. I remember last week GCAD is very simple. Either price breaks up and pulls back down, or price breaks down and pulls back in, and then off we go. So GCAD chose its direction, and we simply just follow that accordingly. So GCAD, as a result of that break out of that 4-hour range that we had here identified, we've been left behind a couple of order blocks, 4 hours in particular. And when we start to refine those 4-hour order blocks down, but before doing so, we can just understand structure and price action on the 4-hour. So we can understand that GCAD can trade, but, or can trend rather, but the overwhelming question is, what is the trend? I can't really decipher it, but certainly as a result of most recent price action, we'll just go with, or I will just go with, what price is currently bullish until proven otherwise. And the way I'll be proven otherwise is the fact if this order block doesn't hold and this order block doesn't hold, we get a break below the daily 50 EMA where price is then looking to retest it and move towards the downside. So that's my confluence at the moment for looking for a long position. So at the moment, GCAD um, is a bit of a favorite. Now, We were looking at UCAD. No, so no real confluence there. I guess when UCAD goes down, GCAD is looking to push up to the upside and vice versa, judging on what's going on. So when we start refining those areas down, let's see where we are. 15-minute time frame. Let me make that big for us all so we can understand what's going on. So when I look to refine that 4 hour order block down, first thing I'm looking to understand, do I have a potential Asia range position? Well, I think so. In fact, definitely. So price was in this area. We came in, came back down, hovered around a bit, and we pushed. As a result of that push, we broke a structure area to the left. Therefore, once price wants to come back down into the area with Asia available to the highs, for me, I'm just going to be waiting for price to dip into that 15-minute order block. I'll wait for a lower time 1 minute break of structure clean and then take price up towards Asia highs for a decent confluence. Now, what I like about this as well is the fact that we do have that higher time frame support, so I'm even more inclined to take that position. So for me at the moment, GCAD longs as well as the UCAD shorts in line with the DXY. For me, GCAD longs is a bit of a favorite moving into London. So what I'll be looking to do is see if I can get that 1 minute break of structure, and I'll gladly take that long position. So how would that look based on my stop loss placement? Um, Probably around there. Can I get the range? Yeah, absolutely. So, and as well as that, of course, there is a daily order block to those highs, where price, let me just bring that up so you guys can see it here. So there's a daily order block up at those highs where price is clearly rejecting to the downside. So if we look at the daily time frame as well, which I'm always quite reluctant to do because it does kind of sometimes it can cloud the bias a little bit. There's nothing too crazy about that. In terms of what I mean is, although there's that daily order block, excuse me, although there's that daily order block coming out of this area, the reason why I'm more comfortable trading back into it, of course, I've got the range to Asia as well, which doesn't take in any of the higher time frame consideration. So that's one good element. But what I can see is that that daily order block, although it was created, here is a good structure point, right? In the market on that daily time frame. Price from that area has pushed up, broken this little area of structure to the left-hand side. So here's a high, here's a potential higher low for a potential higher high continuation. On the flip side, this daily order block, if it had broken structure to the lows, then I'd be a little bit more reluctant to take the short, or excuse me, to take the long into it as a result of understanding that price could actually just make a lower low. So the fact that we don't have that and price hasn't broken those structure points makes me feel even a little bit more comfortable trading into that daily order block, despite taking it as an Asia range trade backed by higher time frame confluence. So I do like GCAD a lot. That is pretty much my favorite going into London. So that's how I'd look to take it. GCAD should really have a maximum of 20 pips, but I have to make it make sense. So something along those lines, and then have no real expectation that price may well not want to push back up into that daily order block simply because it's already rejected it yesterday. But we do have that wick high, which would take price right back up to those highs for a potential short. So GCAD is just a nice looking trading range without price being in the range. So for me, that's definitely the favored type of position when you have a trading range and price actually isn't in a range and you just have very clear support by EMAs, as you guys can see, 4 hours supporting the long position, hour and 45 left. So hopefully once price starts dipping into that area, we'll be looking for a long position up. So that is on GJ as well. GJ. What I have on GJ. I've not marked GJ up to be honest, but I can do it just now. So GJ higher time frame, weekly order block looking for price to come out to the lows. We do have a daily order block where price is rejecting towards the upside. So we definitely have range. However, price is respecting. Well, yesterday we closed above the daily 50 MA and price is respecting that daily 50 MA now, already rejecting it. So what do I have on the 4 hour time frame to want to push me into a long position? Not too much at all. So let's delete that for a moment, move the 4 hour 50 MA across. So no 4 hour order blocks that I could look to manipulate. So the first thing I'm looking to do is now make that 15-minute time frame bigger and understand what's going on in the 15-minute time frame. So here's the good stuff. GJ really still unchanged from last week with this excuse me, yeah, 5 minute order block that I want to take a position from. Let's make that bigger so it makes sense. Um, where are we? Cool. 15-minute order block, that's already mitigated. 5 minute order blocks available. Structure. Can I understand structure? Have we made a higher high? Yes, we have. So we've made a higher high from, and that's just it. From where? And that's what makes GJ quite tricky at the moment, hence why I didn't really give it a go. So I can't determine where we've made that higher high from, i.e. this area. So I just have to give all that credit to this area just here at the lows. The 15-minute order block is far too big for me to want to be taking a position from. So I've just had to refine that down to a 5, which would mean once price gets into that 5 minute order block, I'm going to have my foundation set. What I mean by that is I'm going to then need a bullish 15-minute engulfing candle or just a bit. No, that's going to have to be engulfing for me to have a 15-minute order block. And then I can start the process all over again on GJ, not having any rush to take that. So wait for price to pull back down, lower time frame break of structure, then I'll look for the long. In terms of an immediate short based on time frames, would that make sense? So we understand we're in that larger 4 hour range. So what we could do towards the flip side, if we place a 4 hour order block just there for argument's sake, let's see if we can build the picture to make it make sense on GJ. So we've got that 4 hour order block there. Let's put it towards the highs on the time frames and let's see if we can understand how price action could help us on the 15-minute time frame. So price action and structure. Structure point here. Of course, we've broken that area nicely just now, so let's call it what it is. Structure point, refined area left behind as a result of that break of structure. Here is a nice 15-minute order block refined within the 4 hour that we've just done. Anything up to the highs, that's not available. These are all smaller areas. So, of course, GJ, if we've broken structure. So if we roll backwards, I'm gonna need to see some confirmation. The reason behind that, look at these areas. And I'm not going to just put 15-minute order blocks all up in here because they're not refined from the 4 hour order blocks. So therefore, if I can wait for some confirmation coming out of this area, then I'll be very happy to take that position down. However, where are we? Currently, oh, what would be nice, yeah, if we do close below that 4 hour order block, and then pull back up, then we'll be trading alongside that 4 hour order block to have the confirmation, the confluence to take that short. So actually, GJ short, it looks all right actually. Particularly if I put this higher time frame weekly order block on all intervals, go back to the 15. Nice. So we're actually trading out of already that higher time frame order block. So it looks half decent. The only thing that I'm a bit worried about is the fact that if this was an area in the market that couldn't have been broken, so we've come back down, we've made a higher high. This could well just be the higher low before a higher high continuation. And then the question being, well, would you take a long position from these areas? No, because I'm a bit too close to that weekly order block. What I would be happy to do is take the long position from these areas, manage it aggressively, and understand that at any point in time, that weekly order block could do its job and just flip the script completely, but go alongside what the higher time frame weekly order block is telling me. So that's GJ. I've got a nice alert there. If that comes back up, we'll pop an alert just here if price comes back down to that 5 minute order block as well. And that's what I have for GJ. So I'm just going to quickly run back through the DXY to see what's going on. Good. The rejection that we're understanding. So $2 CAD. Do I have my confirmation just yet? Absolutely not yet. But we can understand that it is now potential good time for DXY to give that bearishness coming out of the market. So UJ, what's UJ looking like? I'm not sure if I went over UJ based on the lack of illustrations, perhaps. Yes, we did. We did go over UJ. So it was the fact that we had this order block in the market, but we understand that potentially price may not want to come and respect that and just roll slightly higher. So I will put an alert here. I'm not, do I want to? No, I don't like the short on UJ from that area, as I've said. I've got an alert anyway for confluence because that would help. If UJ gives me an alert pushing up, and of course, US dollar CAD is also going to push up as well. And we'll then have to see once it push up, can we get that bearish engulfing candle towards the downside? So I'm definitely keeping my eye on US dollar CAD, bearish engulfing candle, 15-minute order block, pull back in, and I'll definitely take that short position 100%. DXY, of course, just waiting for price to give us a little bit more of a movement to the downside to give us that confirmation on the cross pairs. And then GU, quick recap, not going to be looking for a long position. No. EU, well, I'm not opposed to it. I much prefer EU if I'm going to look at a long, as I've said. But we'll just have to see what the DXY looks like by the time price gets there. EU, again, much like GU, but for some reason I just prefer it a little bit more for the long. But again, what does the DXY look like when we get there? We won't trade it without confluence. AU. Only position I have is short, so anticipating price to come back up to those areas for that short, based on the fact that DXY is looking to roll to the downside now. And then GCAD, I like GCAD as a bit of a firm favorite. And GJ, well, GJ, I wouldn't mind the shorts absolutely out of that higher time frame weekly order block. So that's me, team, and Boris in particular. So GCAD, GJ, EU, I'll give that a bit of a green. They're all green to be honest. They've all got alerts, so they can all get it as the saying goes. Boris, any questions, my friend? Sorry, I feel like I went through that quickly, but I don't want to keep your time and then you end up missing a decent potential trade. But I'm waiting for a bearish engulfing 15-minute order block, and I will definitely take a short position on US dollar CAD.
Waiting for you, Keto.
Cool, my friend. Well, I'm in the chat. Have a good day. Don't let the charts consume you. And all the best, my friend. I'll speak to you
You
later.
too.
Thank you, Boris. Take care. Good luck, everyone.